Please like, subscribe, and share if you like the content that I make and you like what I'm doing. Okay? So, a few things. I want to talk about some changes, some adaptations that we can make. First of all, if you're using CRV and you want to go to whiteboard, or you're thinking about going to whiteboard, here's what I would suggest is work your sessions as you usually do, okay? Write up a summary. I wouldn't completely close out the target. I wouldn't end your session until you go to your whiteboard. And once you've done that, you could you could close it out at that point. But here's what I want you guys to understand. When I come up here, the target's in my head. I mean, it's there. I've collected all the pieces. All right. So when I first started moving to whiteboard, I just would bring my sessions with me, take a look at them, start my first sketch, and it would kind of evolve from there. Since then, I've done other things. Now, one of the rules in an Ingo CRV was no lines on the page. Okay, so as it comes to the format, I adhere to that, but what I do different when I use whiteboard is sometimes I'll go to my piece of paper, I'll turn it sideways. This is after I've done several sketches. I may not use it at all, but sometimes I do. Because I know I'm going to come to whiteboard eventually. And I'll split it up and maybe I'll pick a grid and I'll label 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will do flash sketches of whatever I feel like I'm going to bring up to this board, okay? And I will prompt myself, like, consecutive sketches, okay? And my subconscious knows what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put stuff in a consecutive order for when I come up here and work whiteboard. Now, people could do this a lot of different ways. However, it grows within themselves. I would encourage them to do it that way. But beyond that, so you get in movement exercises in CRV. There's move above the target, move to 300 feet above and sketch, look down, move inside structure, sketch, something like that. Okay, well, sometimes what I'll do is, if there's a lot going on, I will put up a header of, give me a composite sketch of this whole thing. Okay, and that also works. And maybe I'll get something representative. It doesn't matter. My subconscious will be able to relay something to my conscious mind with that prompt. So you could try different prompts. It doesn't have to be what I'm saying is basically you could use your own movement exercises, okay, stuff that works. So I want to talk about channeling, okay? Channel. It's kind of a 4-letter word. I don't know if you like community. Okay. So, first of all, when somebody hears this word, typically their mind goes to a dark place. And what I mean by that is channeling, by definition of like classical psychic work, you have this this being. This is the person, okay, and basically their mind, or that they move into this person's physical body, and that person, whether shrinks away or steps out. Okay, so that's the classic kind of like channeling you would have heard of, okay? And I don't do that. Nobody ever takes over my space. I don't take over anybody else's space. Now, to me, that's channeling, okay? Now, what I'm about to talk to you about is next level shit, okay? It's not something you hear a lot of the instructors talk about, but it does exist, okay? So you have Courtney like on a beach talking to a guy named Harvey, okay? An alien. Is that an alien that he's talking to? I don't know. I have no idea, okay? But again, when you get to a certain point, okay, you start recognizing data streams, okay? So if I'm sitting in a car and I'm kind of spacing out, and I hear this sentence that is way outside of my normal verbiage or something, I know kind of what that's about. All right, now for a remote viewer to go from remote viewing to some of this classical stuff is very kind of opposite. It typically doesn't work like this, but you can pick up on what I would describe as telepathic messages, okay? Do most people do? No, they don't. And I've already gone into why that might be. You kind of have to get to this level, right? So if I do get a message, okay, sometimes I get stuff from Hitomi, and sometimes I get stuff from what I would describe as my, like my ancestors. I get stuff like that too. Now, could this just be my subconscious mind? Sure, could be. It certainly doesn't seem that way, but I don't rule anything out. So I want to talk about where there's a metaphysical aspect of psychic, that umbrella term, and then we have remote viewing. Okay. Well, one of my very early targets, and it was basic or intermediate, but it was this. I had this. It was a museum that was built by like this Boy Scout troop or something, and it was kind of out in the desert, and it had different artifacts, and so again, there was no. It had genuine like Native American artifacts. So I am exploring the target as a student, and I come up to like a case or something, and this like Native American chief shows up in my session, okay? And he's kind of like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just looking around," okay? So, and then he just kind of disappeared, right? Now, when this stuff starts happening to you, it's confusing, okay? And my guess is that people that really kind of just are either scared of stuff like this or kind of close off. Maybe they AOL this kind of thing and it never comes back again or whatever. But so at this point in time, I don't know what the target is. But I wrote up the summary and I described everything, including this guy that showed up. So, I talked to my instructor and, basically I just said, like, do you want me to include this stuff? The summary or what? I don't know. So, anyway, so that happened. Now, another practice target I had was the London Templar Church or something like that. And, I'm not expecting anything strange. I'm expecting to go into a target and it's going to be very mundane, And I happen to walk in on I step into the target and on like a baptism, right? So this guy's doing, and then like I'm seeing this thing open up, like a portal, and this like angelic beings holding this thing, and it was really weird. It was like I was seeing something happening on another level of reality. Okay. And then this knight showed up and everything else. So I don't know, it was strange. Okay, so I'm not looking for this stuff. When I go into especially a homework target, I'm expecting a very mundane situation. And in addition to that, I don't want to write that stuff down. I'm hesitant to write that stuff down, guys. Okay. But this is what I want you guys to understand when I talk about layered perception, because it's very unique, I think. I mean, I don't think it's just me. I think others have it as well. But so when stuff like that happens, I'm in a remote viewing mode, but metaphysical things, if they are at that target. Now, again, this doesn't happen at every target. It's something that might have a bunch of history to it, or like very old artifacts are there, or there's, something happens to be kind of attached to it in some way, okay? Now, as amazing as these things are, I have my own blind spots, okay? I cannot hit every target. I miss. But what'll happen is, more often than not, is I'll get displaced, and that I'll know I'll get psychic data. It's shifted somewhere else. So I'm kind of what you would describe as like a very deep dive remote viewer. I want to get in there and pull it apart and put things together, and like a puzzle. That's kind of how I am built. So if you give me like a design on a piece of paper, I'm probably gonna blow right by that, because unless you tell me it's something like abstract or something, because I want to kick out 30 to 60 pages. I can't pick out 30 to 60 pages on something like that. I burst right through it. To me, that's like, in my mind, a paper target. And paper targets, my subconscious doesn't take it real serious. He's kind of stubborn like that. Like, don't waste my time with stuff like that. That's kind of like his attitude. I wish it wasn't like that, but that's kind of how it is. Money targets, or can't, like, my mechanism behaves different on certain targets. Okay. So again, I have blind spots, and you should try and work on them if you can. Some things I think you could work with. Sometimes it's just the way it is. But okay, another thing too is one of my downfalls is I'm a lazy stage 5. I have to force myself to take a stage 5, because when you do stage 5, you're off signal, okay? And for me, like experiencing remote viewing, it's almost like you're taking a deep breath, you're sucking in all this information. Well, stage 5 to me is almost like it's like the opposite of that, So you're kind of putting a pin in that, getting off the signal, and then breaking down something that's already dropped into your conscious mind. And it's something I have to actively make myself do. And even now, I wish I would take more stage 5s because, interestingly enough, during the paper session in CRV, you're not putting pieces together. So you're not really analytically analyzing what's kind of going on. But interestingly enough, for me, from my perspective, is when I do break stuff down in stage 5, of course, then you're off signal anyway, so more your analytical mind is working. But you do a stage 5 and like maybe kind of a stage 5.5, and that stage actually gives me a better understanding of the whole target itself for some reason, which is off signal, which makes this is interesting to me. But so that's something I need to do. Even now, I should do more stage 5, and then it's helpful for the analyst and stuff. Usually, there's information there that's interesting. Other things that could be done with ideograms. I think we talked about that before. Where, like I was talking about how Daz does like marketing trends. They could get the sense of the market, will mirror whatever the market's doing. He does like up and down things to get, answers as far as directionality. I have done horse racing things where I would go right into just a 1-page kind of a sketch and let my hand do all the work, and it ends up relaying to maybe something at the target or something that relates to one of the horse racers. Okay, that works really well until the system starts breaking down on you. What else? I know this is a bunch of different stuff, guys. So yeah, again, more about the weirdness of some of the stuff I'm talking about. So whatever you are going to perceive, guys, it's getting pushed through your filter, okay? So however you want to look at it, this is you working at your desk type of thing. Wherever this information is coming from, okay? Let's say outside of you. And you start to put stuff on the page, it's getting pushed through your filter, okay? And it's hard not to drag some of that stuff in, okay? But what I'm saying is my perspective of things is, whether it be how the universe works, what's real, what isn't real, aliens, interdimensional beings, demigods, whatever. I just kind of leave it like, this is my attitude. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't close myself off to it, because if I do that, it's going to limit things. Okay, when you guys, all of this, okay, and again, I just ask you, try and get a bigger scope beyond just remote viewing, okay, because it can take on a whole nother dimension if you expand that a little bit. Because to be honest with you guys, this is why I laugh when people want to add all these more protocols, and they think they can improve on this, that, and this and that. Because from my perspective, this is us, okay, in on Earth. We've got this we got all these, like a straitjacket, all these chains and locks on us, okay? And when we come down, when we're here on Earth, our band of perception is extremely narrow, okay? So the only reason why how we do that is we start unlocking these chains around us, okay? And it's not by adding more fancier protocols. That's not, I mean, if that's how you got to do it, that's fine. But it's about taking stuff off, not adding, okay? That's the key ingredient. Once you do that, this looks like this, okay? Now, that's the spectrum you want to be perceiving with. This is a science of perception. So are you trying to put barriers on that, or are you trying to take them off? What are you trying to do? So some of this stuff, you could either lean into it or you could back away from it. If you lean into it, you keep growing. If you back away from it, or if you're fearful of it, you kind of shut down, you know. So as far as remote viewing goes, whatever protocol you decide to do, out of the ones that are well known, not one of those is going to make you more proficient than another remote viewer. Your efforts in that particular modality will make you better, okay? So that's why, again, if you're going to change stuff, you better have mastered whatever you've learned so well. Otherwise, I mean, you're just reforming the same blade over and over. It's not about that. It's about making you more aware, expanding that band of perceptual awareness. Remote viewing is just a bit of it, but it gets better, if you put in the right effort. So again, there are artifacts, there are, at least from my experience, sometimes there are artifacts that you may see it in a museum, you may not think anything of it, but when you interact with it via remote viewing, it may take on a whole other dimension. Whether it be it has some deep history to it, or something's been imbued on it from some way. I don't know. But if you really want to be an explorer of consciousness, okay, you got to be willing to step out into the unknown, okay, and you got to like let go of the fear. Because I'll be completely honest with you, when I mentioned the telepathy thing, here's another thing. When you're able to, what's the difference between signal, channel, data stream, data flow, aperture? These are all labels, guys. These are all labels, okay? So whether you're tuning in to the frequency of the target, or opening a channel to the target, or the aperture to the target, however these are all models of things that we can describe. But back to my point with the telepathy and stuff, when you open those doors, are there negative things? Of course there is. Of course there is. All right. So and that's where like your own discernment comes in. Like, I don't like this or that, and you kick it away, because if the thing is if once you become aware, and Ingo talks about this stuff, guys. He talks about when you open up these channels, you're aware of other things. Other things are aware that you're aware of them. Okay, so are there really good, amazing things? Yes. Are there really nasty things? Of course. But with all my travels and remote viewing and everything else, sometimes you find things that are really profound. Sometimes you find things that are scary. Sometimes, but you grow in that effort, and it takes quite a lot to spook me at this point, because after a while it's like, I've seen worse. But this is part of the journey. You're gonna you set your own parameters. When I talk about taking those chains off, we have grown up into this society of this is what we're capable of accomplishing. This is what we can do. This is where human limits lie, and you've boxed yourself in to this mold that's your own prison. Where the limits are, I don't know. I'm still pushing things out. I mean, the more I practice remote viewing, the more I do other, stuff, it's, you just keep leveling up. But if you're a minimalist and, you're just here for the, you want to teach classes or whatever the certificate, I don't know. But your limits are your own. You could keep pressing this out. And if you want to play like next level, I call this next level. You got to have it in you to do that. It just doesn't come to you. So anyway, that's all I have to say, guys. Have a good week. We'll catch you next time on Owl003. Please like, subscribe, and share. All right.